Hello and welcome to Tight Lines. Now, it won't be the first time you've heard me comment that carp fishing is now probably the most important part of angling from a tackle trade and fishery perspective. Much of that's down to the characters that fill the sport, none more so than our guest this week. It's fair to describe Terry Hearn as the carp angler's carper, and even after all the years he spent at the top of the sport and the amount of fish he's put on the bank, he's still one of the nicest blokes around. We'll be delving into his tackle box and tactics over the next hour. Also coming up, we'll be out on the bank with carp catching machine Ian Russell, who demonstrates his short session approach on a recent visit to a Berkshire day ticket fishery. There's predator action with Eric Edwards of the England Lure Squad as he sets his sights on a hungry winter pike on a trip to the fabulous River Wye in Wales. And I'll have top information and advice for all types of UK anglers in my fishery focus, with my take on the conditions and the sport to be found on different waters. Well, it's good to see you, Terry. It's actually quite a surprise to be able to drag you off the bank, because you've normally got some kind of project on the go and a special fish in your sights, and you're not always the easiest man to get hold of.
Easy enough at the moment. I've just been fishing short trips, barbling, perching, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I'm not full on into the carp at the moment, so you've managed to grab me.
Oh, good. How's your carping year been, though? Has it been good?
It was good, yeah. Good spring and summer. Fishing, I'm sure you know the venue, Ashmead, Somerset. So it's a fair way from home, which meant I had to go for 3 or 4 nights at a time. But yeah, lovely. I had a lovely spring and summer, and then over the last few weeks, it's all been about other stuff,
But Ashmead does hold some very special fish, and I know this is one that you really had your sights on.
Yeah, there's a lot of real nice ones in there. That's one from sort of the end of March. That was just over £40, 10 ounces.
Really?
So, yeah, there's...
But what a gorgeous-looking common. It's
Perfect.
So distinctive. The scales are so distinctive, aren't they?
Really dark, like middle, black on the edge, middle of the scales, But
lovely-looking fish,
perfect mouth. But you know what? That didn't fight at all.
Didn't it?
No, they call that fish JCs because, well, basically, whenever someone gets it in, their reaction is normally, Jesus Christ. They're expecting a tench or a bream or something, Like, it really doesn't fight at all. But, yeah, it's always a surprised angler that's got that underneath the rod tip. I'm not expecting it.
I've found commons like that match fishing as well sometimes. Yucca fishing, is it a common or is it a bream? No, it's a common. Now, short sessions aren't really Terry's thing, but if you do want a bit of action over the next few weeks, one man who can certainly show you the way to go is Ian Russell, a no-nonsense carp angler who just loves to catch fish, whatever the weather. A couple of weeks ago, we joined him on one of his local waters.
Winter fishing, and it is cold today, as you can see. Not all about big uns. Sometimes it's just nice to get out and do a bit of fishing. They are carp, which is what I love catching. Where are we? Well, little tiny lake controlled by Crowthorne Angling. It's called Home Grange. It's full of these little critters. I'm sure we're going to catch a good few today. There are some bigger ones, by the way, but nevertheless, we're having fun. We're fishing, short day sessions, and home for a lovely big dinner in the evening. We've mentioned we're fishing for smaller fish today. It's about bites, it's about catching some carp. So let's not forget you've got to scale down. What I've done here is, because they are, as I said, smaller fish, we've got a light braided hook link, size 10 hook, one piece of lightly balanced corn, yellow being the one today, usually is as it happens. So that's all scaled down there. Small bag of pellets. Again, we're fishing for bites. We're not trying to feed these fish. OK. The other rod is on a zig. The depth I've found best today so far is about 7 foot. It's about 10 foot of water, which is usual 2/3 of the way up in the column. All year round, these are an exceptional way of catching fish. If you're worried about tying them up, buy a ready tied one like I do. So there you go. Both rods, different tactics, because again, we are fishing for carp. You want to find out which one's doing the best, and I'll concentrate both rods on that by lunchtime. So there you go. Zigs and little balanced baits. And with that, the zig's off again. Another tiny little common, but we're fishing. Look at that. And what I've done here, I haven't got my carp rods. I've got the small bait runners and a set of barbel rods. So, again, you've adjusted the gear, have a bit of fun fishing on these little critters. And there's another one to the plastic corn. go. Another lovely little common carp. Look at them. Absolute little pearlers. You know, who wouldn't want a day catching a few of them? Again, I know I keep saying it, little fish, it's alternative methods. This takes me back to childhood, getting dirty hands rather than boilies. We've got some ground bait, a little bit of lake water, small pellets, flavour shaker. This is sort of vanilla-y, they like it. Tin of corn and a tin of hemp. That's full of water now where I've been mixing the ground bait up, and you knock it up into like a, I don't know, a putty consistency, which makes your hands disgustingly dirty, but we're fishing for shoals of small fish. I've been doing this for the last hour, throwing the odd ball of ground bait in the same spot. I haven't fished on top of it yet, but we'll save that for a little bit later, in case we have to. We've been getting enough fish dotting the rods around, so that's what you end up with. It's a little bit different than fishing with half a key of boilies around your rig, but, you know, if you're catching fish, we're all happy. And there you go, it's literally underarm. All I've done here is pick the shadow line on the trees because there's no features here, so I'm putting it in the same spot every time. And there you go, about every quarter of an hour I'm throwing one or two of them in. Maybe an hour's time, we'll put a lead on it. We'll wait till we see a bit of fizzing. So, all different stuff. I was absent there because I was got the other rod in tying a longer zig on, because the bottom bait's doing more than the zigs, and there are so many showing on the surface. I was going to make a longer zig, and I am going to make a longer zig, and the bottom bait was off, so we take what we get. The corn again. This sweet corn thing is quite something else, really. There you go, first one off the ground bait. I pulled that rod in because I saw a little bit of fizzing there and a little bit of flat spotting in the breeze, which is the where they're rooting about. The oil from the hemp and the ground bait's leaking up to the surface, giving us a flat spot. Early signals, early warnings you're going to get a bite. Slightly better fish. They're all about this stamp, to be fair, but we're having a lovely day's fishing, getting real smelly, so I'm going to slide him back now. Well, there you go, another bite. I'll tell you what we've done here. I've took the zig off. About 60 yards out in arm of that post, a sign on the far bank. It was just so much fizzing going on. I've took the zig off, put a little oily boilie on, and we've got a bite after 5 minutes. So, one of the little tiny ones again, but there you go, that's what we're here for. Let's get him out, get him netted. Tinsy wincy little common. Took the liking to an oily boilie, that one. So we'll put the boilie back out. And when he settles down, we'll put the fish back. Well, I've changed them both now to little oily boilies, and this is another minute and it's gone off, so I'll show you that in a minute, what we've changed and why I think we should have done. And it's another common, but there you go, it's a carp. Another lovely little golden common. And there we have it. A lovely little oily boilie. They were a bit slow on the corn and on the zigs, so I decided, in my infinite wisdom, that the water's a bit murky, something with a bit more punch to it, and that's what it is. Soaked in oil, little red buoy. It was a wafter actually, one of our wafters, and that they are coming thicker and faster than they were with the plastic and the zig. So good call then to change over. Just again, you know, don't sit on your laurels, keep chopping and changing things, because there's always something that's going to work better than what is slow. So I'll pop him back. It's another little common, and I threw my little bag this time over by the aerator. And 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Well, just so gorgeous, these little fish, though. You see why lots of sort of pole anglers and feeder anglers come out. And another lovely little common. Again, changing to the little oily boilies, bringing so many bites now. Chopping and changing. Loads and loads and loads of bites, having so much fun here. Brilliant. Feels marginally better. I threw it down there in the corner where I saw a few fish jumping about, and 10 minutes later another bite. Again on the little red boilie rather than the plastic corn. And I think it is a colour water thing. Oh, shaking about there. There we are. What a lovely fish. And in she comes. Come on, another foot. Oh yes. That is a nice carp. What a fish to finish on. Cold, wet, drizzled all day. Caught more carp than I care to remember. We've ended on a nice fish, but I'm guessing it's about 10 or 11 pounds. Best fish of the day.
There are just so many people that love that kind of carp fishing. They want to go and they want a bit of action in the winter. And I thought that was a brilliant example of how you can do it by sticking to what are really specialist techniques, but targeting what fish are available to you. If you want to get bites, that's the sort of place you've got to go.
Yeah, yeah. There's no need to get bored nowadays. You can find loads and loads of lakes that have got lots of carp in and you can get a bite. So, yeah, I know Ian loves all that sort of stuff.
He does.
Especially in the cold.
Yeah, but he's also a really seriously committed big fish carp angler as well.
Oh, yeah,
he does it all.
Well. Yeah.
Does the lot, yeah. You change tack a little bit in the winter, didn't you, and go for other species, and we'll be talking about that a bit later on. But yeah, you like your perch and your roach.
Once it gets a bit too difficult for the really big carp, then... Yeah. Rather than go for small carp, I prefer to go for big of something else, perch, barbel and whatever. Yeah,
we were talking about that. Welcome back to the one and only Terry Hearn's for guest today. We finished our mince pie. Terry, nice, wasn't it?
Lovely.
Yeah. First of all, I want to start with this fish. And I'll tell you why. It's caught about 500 yards from my front door.
Yeah.
It's a gorgeous fish. I know that's on the tidal Thames.
That's it, yeah. Me and Dad have had a boat there for several years now, haven't we? So we see you all the time.
Yeah, yeah. I don't always see you, but I know you always see. And that's a really gorgeous fish. It's fairly untypical of Thames mirrors in a way because it's got a bit of a belly, and some of them are quite lean, aren't they? Yeah.
I mean, that's one. I mean, I can think of other ones that are a lot smaller that are probably longer in length.
Yeah.
You know, but that's the biggest known one that we've caught
off
of that stretch. 36.
Wow.
Pounds off. And do you know what? We only know 5 captures of that fish, and 4 of them have been off our boat. And you know the other chap, it's Jim, who's got the boat further down.
Down below Glover's Island,
yeah. He lives in a very short space of river and doesn't seem to go anywhere else.
That's amazing, isn't it? Because some of the fish down there are very nomadic. I know that we've had fish caught down at sort of right as far down as Isleworth and as high up as Teddington Lock. And I'm sure that your mate Dave, I'm sure he's caught some fish up at Kingston that probably are in the tidal from time to time.
I photographed one this year from Hurley on Thames, so I don't know how many miles that is.
Long
way.
Yeah.
And I'd caught it in January 2012 from Tenton.
Above or below? On the tidal?
From the lock. From the lock. Oh, on the tidal stretch.
On the tidal?
Yeah. So it's gone through and then gone all that
way. It's a long way.
That's just one of, honestly, you know, like friends that are much more into it than me. It's amazing the distance they travel.
Yeah. Now, I'm interested in the rig you use because on the Thames, I tend to use bottom rigs. I like 2 10 mils when I'm fishing. But I don't do it very often. When I like 2 10 mils because I don't mind picking up the odd Bertie on a mile. I don't mind the odd barbel down there. But you use a snowman rig, and it's. I mean, I know. I've known you for a long time, and I've known your rig for a long time, and it's changed very, very little. The actual construction of the rig, the coated braid, the little strips off end bit, the standard hair, has changed very little. But there you've got a snowman presentation. Why do you use that on the river?
It just works. It's just what's always worked, and it's a case of why change a winning formula, you know?
Yeah.
But the good thing is, because you've got a balance bait as the top bait, the pop-up, you can use quite a heavy hook, you know, and that's quite a heavy gauged hook, and you need a strong hook on the Thames, you know, for the carp. But it just works. It just works on the river. That's what I've used now for the last sort of 8-9 years.
Really? Do you think that, and I know that's obviously the pop-up and the heavy bait underneath, do you think that the flavouring and texture of the bait's very important on the river?
It's all about the top bait. isn't it? You know, the bottom bait's underneath it, you know, and generally it's the top bait that's the pop-up, that's the one that's the most powerful. It's normally the brighter one of the two, as you can see there, you know. But, yeah, that's flavoured with a spice flavour, an old Hutchie flavour that I've had for many, many years, Mega Spice. And then it's got a sauce boilie underneath it. You know, they're both good baits, but I've got no doubt it's the brightly coloured top bait that the carp are seeing.
That's,
you know,
that's the 10mm I use as well. That's
exactly. For my barbel fishing, I use 2 10mm sauce every time.
Now, that was actually sitting on a question that's come in, and this is, and I've carefully got onto the subject of baits there, because it says, it's from Ian. He says, can you ask Terry, when fishing for a particular fish, be it a common or a mirror, have you found through past captures that commons prefer a sweet bait to a savoury, and vice versa with mirrors, or does he choose one bait regardless? Now, I know that, I think it was Adam Penning said to me some time ago that he was using a bait that tended to sort out commons, not to the exclusion of mirrors, but he would catch more commons on one bait as a proportion of his catch. Have you found that?
I've got to be honest, even if I'm targeting a large common, the Burfield common, for instance, I didn't think to myself, right, I need to change my bait. You know, like, so I'm not really... But certainly when it comes to, like, a little bright yellow, pineapple-coloured flavoured pop-up, for instance, the commons seem to like those. But then again, so do mirrors. You know, and I've always said yellow and sweet for commons. But then going back a few years, I remember a friend of mine catching common after common after common out of one of the Bushy Park lakes, and that was on pink shellfish sensibill pop-ups. Couldn't catch a mirror. He caught common after common. So...
Who knows?
I don't know. Who knows, mate? You know,
it's trial and error.
All I say, if you've got a bait that catches commons and you're after a big common, then why not use it? Stick to it.
Well, I'll tell you what, Ian, we'll have this now. This is this another? Where's this fish from?
That's another one from Ashmead. Yeah, that's more summertime, June sort of time.
Completely different scale colours. On that. Completely different scale pattern. And you didn't use this particular bait just to catch that common. And you use what you use.
That was on one of those a salted 18mm. Crave boilie, more of a shellfishy smell. So.
We go on to those in a second, just if we can. But we got this out because this is the rig that you used.
That's it. That's a fines down version. In the case of that fish, I was using a bigger bait. These are just 15mm. But for that one, I was using one of these 18s. And obviously bigger bait, slightly bigger hook, you know, like a size 4 on, whereas that's a 6.
Now, I know this is a heavy bait.
That's a bait straight out of the bag, And if I'm fishing a bait straight out of the bag, in other words, a heavy bottom bait, exactly how anyone, if they went into a shop and bought a bag of it, that's how they come. And I prefer...
Because I want to look at this hook arrangement. It's not a pop-up, so I'm holding this... It should be laying like that, but you can't see it like that. So just explain why you've got the hook coming off, the hair coming off that part.
I'll show you. And I'll tell you what, it varies. I mean, I noticed
you tell me what to do, and I'll do it here.
OK, you're in...
Right, so there's the bait there.
That's it. That's how I fish it. And basically, I'm using the weight to my advantage. Instead of the hair leaving the back of the eye, like it would normally do, I've trapped the hair of it, a little bit of silicone, almost round underneath the bar, long way round, past the bend, you know. Now, if you put that in your palm of your hand, imagine that's a carp, it's just taken it. Now you pull away.
Wow.
But, I mean, really, the hook link would be it'd be the fish that pulled away, so you'd move that hand away.
So if I take that away, as I take it away, you see that, look?
Yeah, and it'll catch, it'll turn
That's turned into my hand. I'll do it again. Ouch, it's sharp, that hook.
Yeah, real sharp one.
If you imagine your fish, so you pick it up, you take it away like that, and that's gone. That's
but it's not travelling more than an inch.
No, it's not. That's right, and that's the weight of the...
The weight of the bait does that, yeah.
Just show you.
But
I can get it.
It really does depend on the venue. I've fished other places where it's better to have it leaving the... If the carp are used to blowing and sucking the baits
Which a lot of them do, don't they?
You got it, then that's going to have the opposite effect, and it turns the hook away from the fish's mouth, which isn't so good. But 90% of the venues I fish, that's the way I fish it, and I have no problem. So
if you've got fish that fed in that manner, and it's sometimes on quite silty bottoms they do that, and so they blow everything up and pick up the solid bits as they go down, would you then use maybe a waft or like a semi-buoyant bait or a pop-up or a snowman even? Snowman again. Now, on to these, and now this is intriguing. We've left these in the bag so you can see... You can't see much in bags, I know, but you can see that. It looks like a Christmas scene, doesn't it? Only upside down. And there you've got big boilies, and is that what's this?
That's sea salt.
Sea salt?
Yeah, and basically, I mean, a lot of people air dry their boilies where you've got a problem. I mean, at Ashmead, I had a big problem with rudd. Yeah. So it was worth air drying the baits to make them harder so they were more resistant to the attentions of the rudd.
Oh,
but yeah, these ones, if you put some boilies in with salt, then it has exactly the same effect. It draws the moisture out of a bait.
Cures it, like you do for smoked salmon.
Yeah, you taste one of those and that really...
I'd rather not. No, I'll rely on the fish doing
But fish like that, you know, they do like a salty bait. So, yeah, it's the same as air-drying baits, except they're a lot more attractive than your average air-dry boiling.
And this... It's hardened out. Do they retain the flavour more with salt? Because I know that air drying sometimes reduces the emission of the flavour until they've rehydrated a fair bit.
I'd say that it makes them a lot more flavoursome, you know, like obviously... The two best attractors in water are sugar and salt, you know, because they both go into water and they've actually got a taste. Whereas a lot of so-called flavours, really, they're an essence. You're smelling something, you know, and underwater, that's its taste.
Do you know, I once was given some strawberry soft hook baits for match fishing, and they were unbelievable. You smelt them, it was like smelling strawberry jam, you know that. And I don't do it very often, but I thought, I'll taste one of these. And I put it in my mouth and I tasted it, and it tasted exactly of nothing. I mean, it could have been agar. There was no flavour. All it was a texture and a solid thing. There was no taste at all. And that opened my eyes a bit to flavourings and stuff then, because it must make a huge difference. Because as it's a smell, I assume that fish can't smell it, because fish taste, don't they?
That's it. There's minute air molecules in water, but yeah, it's all about taste underwater, not smell. So when we get these lovely pineapple flavours and strawberry flavours, oh, that smells lovely. But that's not, you know, what the fish is doing. The fish is tasting them. So yeah, two basics. The most two basic attractors really for carp fishing are sugar and salt.
Do you use sugar itself, or do you use betaine? Because I know I'm a
golden syrup.
You use golden syrup, do you? Because I'm a great fan of betaine, because it's, for a start, it's an amino acid that's got a 0 pH.
Yep.
So it alters the pH slightly, as that would make it more alkaline. And I think any change in pH, I read somewhere once, someone very clever said that any change in pH attracts fish to that spot.
That's it. You want to be at the other end of the scale to whatever the pH of that water is. When you get into it, isn't it?
No, it's not complicated, mate. It's fascinating because it sounds complicated, but the great thing is, and we mentioned this a little while ago, fishing is like a kaleidoscope.
Yeah,
every day, it's like a slightly different turn on that kaleidoscope, a different pattern. And when you tune into it, and as a match angler, I used to tune into it, and I know as a carp angler, you tune into it. It's so important to try and be on the same level as the fish.
Yeah, and ahead. Yeah.
If you can.
Yeah.
If you can be, mate, get ahead of them, that's right. On most commercial fisheries, once carp stop feeding so much, roach have to forage for food and become great targets. There's some quality fishing to be had for good roach. Simple float fishing with caster for bigger fish or maggot for more bites. No need to feed a lot. A pint of bait can do you the whole day, so it's cheap too. And there's no ground bait required either, just loose feed. Fish single caster or double maggot on a size 18 hook, slightly over depth, with your shot spaced out so the hook falls slowly. Now, you might not catch on the drop, but I believe that slow falling bait helps. I think they see it and follow it down. Fish an insert waggler and dot it right down. For the perch, a pole's best. Fish close to any cover. And as I mentioned last week, prawns are an absolute killer bait. And tell you're the carp expert. I mean, what do you do this time of the year? If you do manage to get out carp fishing, what would you suggest?
Really depends on the water, how many carp are in there, you know. But I
mean, most people will fish like Ian Russell did earlier on a water that's got plenty, and he caught on that oil. A bit of a surprise on an oily bait.
Yeah. As long as you're not putting lots of oils in, it does still work. It was effectively single hook bait. So all it's got on is a hook bait just with a little bag nicked on it. Great method in the winter. But that's my approach on most places I fish. It's generally a bright single hook bait with minimal bait around it.
I used to have a little trick I used when I was match fishing in the winter with single hook baits. I used to use a catapult and fire out nothing. And people around me thought I was feeding, they'd feed, and 2 bits of sweet corn could be 2 bits.
You're fooling them.
I'm tricking them, with age comes wisdom. But you get, that was all single hook bait fishing, that was all single or double bits of corn on the hair, just cast at various spots in the swim. Once you got a bite, cast back to that spot. And the number of times you'll get another fish almost straight away.
That's it, without overfeeding. That's what a lot of it is in the winter, people overfeed.
Exactly right. They do tend to put fish... They feed for a very short time as well. I know I've been reading I always do read lots about carp fishing, and the number of people say that the bite time was so short. You've got 23 hours on the bank for 1 hour of bite time. It can be sometimes 3 or 4 in the morning, even in the coldest conditions.
Yeah, generally evenings. evenings, I find, are the best time in the winter, but that leaves a long time with not a lot going on. All night, all day, nothing, you know. You can easily be fooled into thinking, well, it's just not happening, it's dead. But that last hour of daylight, they start rolling, it happens.
As the light fades. And all species do it, seeing big roach priming. So, what's for tell next?
Well, Christmas with the family, and then after that, it'll be off to Somerset.
Oh, yeah.
I'm looking forward to getting back to Somerset.
You say you're looking forward to it, and I don't know how well you can see this picture. Look, this is a very, very special picture because there's 3 fish in that picture, and that one there
is the biggest of them. That's it. There's 3 fish there for £120 plus of carp in total. But that one, I mean, you can see from its width, hopefully, but that's 55 plus. It's not been caught since March. That
really?
Fish. I photographed this in end of June, and unfortunately I lost it the day after taking that shot.
Did you see? You know it was that fish?
I know it was that fish. I'd seen where it was feeding, and it never come back to that area after that. You know, it lived in another part of the lake, but. Yeah, it's not an easy one, whereas the other ones get caught quite regularly, you know. But, yeah, I shall be going back after Christmas, and fingers crossed, you never know.
I saw Dave Lane a couple of weeks ago caught the Burfield common. I remember when you caught that. Back in the summer, I think you told me that you caught 93 fish out of Burfield before you caught that one.
102.
102? Oh, dear.
But it was my 102nd carp out of the lake. So, yeah, it's just how it, you know, I know people that have caught double that and still not caught it.
Really? And yet, babyface, you turned up, literally didn't even have your sticks in.
That was crazy, less than 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It's just luck. And sometimes it's luck which one that you catch. You know?
And that's a big fish in Norfolk, isn't it?
Yes,
Norfolk, Norfolk Stillwalls, And I mean, did you feel like, it's a dodgy question to ask really, did you feel like you'd achieved that fish, or did you think it was...
Do you know what? I'll be honest with you. After driving all the way to Norfolk, it was a lot further than I thought. You know, it's like normally you Google it, you look at it, the map and all that. If I don't know, I can do that in 2 hours. I think it was about 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
By the time I'd got there, I thought, I won't be doing this again. This is too far.
Yeah.
It's just too far. You know, I've bitten off a bit too much. I caught it within 5 minutes, which was a good job, because I wouldn't have been going back.
But there you know,
being honest.
See, that's the way to do it. Turn up, cast out, catch it, go home. That's not his usual way. That's it for today. But I'm afraid it's it for today. But a reminder: you can find films from the show, a weekly podcast, and various other features on our website. You can also follow us on Twitter, of course, and please keep your young angler photos and any questions coming in on email. Tell it's a real pleasure to see you, mate. Thanks so much for coming in. Lovely. Next Friday, I'll be taking a festive opportunity to look back at some of the best sessions we've seen on the show over the past year, with great course, fly and sea action to keep you entertained. Join me for that at 10 o'clock on Sky Sports 4. That's Boxing Day, 10 p.m, Sky Sports 4. Don't forget, we're also available on demand. Find us every week in the Sky Sports section of Catch Up. So have a very happy Christmas, and if you do get to sneak out for a quick dabble, tight lines. Thanks, mate. Well done. Good stuff. Lovely stuff. As ever. As ever.
Enjoy Sky Sports Live. On all screens, on the go, and the best bits on demand.